The preceding paragraph is all stuff I just made up, but it's canonical now. Sarah Monti, writer. The Word of God is loosely defined as a statement coming from an ultimate authority in regards to a work of fiction. One might think that anything that comes from these sources is correct, and fan theories can thus be rebutted from these sources. However, there are several issues that stem from trying to debunk theories in this way. To look into this, I will be discussing the issues with doing so in the context of the Reddit post evaluating code theory, which just so happens to be popular enough that it has a permanent spot on the top of the Code Geass subreddit labeled as R2 ending clarification. I believe this post ignores some of the glaring flaws that come with rebuting theories in this way, and as such, this video is a formal proposal to remove said post from being stickied on the subreddit, or at the very least to add this video alongside it. Let's begin. Part 1. Lelouch is dead. The post begins this part talking about interviews conducted with Ichiro Akouch, whom Wikipedia credits with collaborating with director Goro Taniguchi for composing the story and script of the Sunrise original production Code Geass: Lelouch the Rebellion. This is where the first issue of the argument arises. Not all stories have a singular creator. Anime, including Code Geass, have many different individuals working on a single project. Animators, episode writers, script writers, voice actors, directors, the list goes on into what makes an anime come to life. In some series, this is mitigated because the source material, usually a manga or light novel, has a singular author from which the Word of God could be derived from. Code Geass is an original animation, however, which makes nailing down a singular author impossible. Additionally, the show must go through a board of directors. That board, the gatekeepers in this scenario, have a say on what the final product looks like. If you believe the Word of God in its most literal definition, the God of Code Geass is Bandai Entertainment, who owns the copyright of the series and, like many license holders, isn't very verbal about their properties. If you can find an interview with someone Bandai has chosen to represent Code Geass as a franchise, that would fit a much better definition of the Word of God. Regardless, because of the vast amount of individuals who have influence over the series' story and its tone, one true Word of God cannot be determined. Part 2. Other stuff. A lot of your arguments here revolve around using the content of the series and the official-unofficial ZR recap movie to discuss why code theory cannot be. Firstly, I would like to state that the canonical integrity of the ZR movie is iffy at best, as the recap was released as a standalone retelling of the events of R2 from Suzaku's perspective. However, if we are to include the ZR movie as canon, it would only make sense to do so as an extension of the original story. As in, the ZR movie is canon, only if everything that originally happened in R2 is also canon. Think of it as two different cameras both filming events taking place in the same world. It does not make sense, as you have implied, to replace the events of a fully fleshed out season of anime with an hour-and-a-half recap. Add on to this that you are only acknowledging the 50 seconds of additional footage they added, while ignoring the many scenes that now don't exist if you believe this is new canon, and it becomes clear the idea this replacing official canon is ridiculous. Part 3. Final Thoughts. My final point lies in the essay The Intentional Fallacy by Wilsat and Monroe Beardsley. They argue, the design or intention of the author is neither available nor desirable as a standard for judging the success of a work of literary art. This means the text, or in the case of Code Geass, the officially released versions of the original anime, is the primary source of meaning. Any details of the author's intention or purpose found in other documents, such as interviews, tweets, or even art books, are, as quoted from the paper, private or idiosyncratic, not a part of the work as a linguistic fact. As a translation, only the context of the story has merit to be analyzed. Under this idea system, I believe that code theory will continue to exist, and always should. The theory may not be perfect, but all the evidence of it lies within scenes from the show, which can always be discussed and contested by other evidence also found within the show. And this is a good thing. Discussion like this has kept a show over 10 years old still prevalent to discuss today. It is with this point that I once again ask that the R2 ending clarification be removed from the top of the Code Geass subreddit. Its presence there, regardless of if one agrees with it or not, discourages discussion to be made on the topic of code theory or the ending of Code Geass in general. As one of the last places on the internet that discusses Code Geass, wouldn't it be great if we could all have our voices be heard? Regardless, and as always, thanks for watching.